It's time once again to step out, step up, and step into the Coming Out Lounge, a safe space to be you and your truth with coming out coach Rick Clemens. Rick's expertise in the coming out process has helped hundreds of men and women ignite their inner desires to powerfully step out of the closet and into the light of living authentically as gays and lesbians. Freeing you from the feelings of guilt or shame, Rick offers take-action tips for basking in the glow of self-love, easy-to-implement tools for wrapping yourself up in the warm embrace of self-acceptance, and take-it-to-the-bank advice on how to step courageously into a powerful, purpose-filled life on the other side of the closet doors. Each week, the Coming Out Lounge brings you heartwarming coming out stories, insights for living authentically as a gay or lesbian, and challenges you to step out of the ordinary and into your extraordinary life. Pull up a chair, cuddle up with the truth of who you've always been, and let's spend an hour in the Coming Out Lounge discovering how to energetically step out, step up, and step into living your truth. Here's the host of your show, Coming Out Coach Rick.
Hello, Closet Busters. It's time once again to stop the closet dwelling and to step out, step up, and step into living your powerful truth. Even if living that powerful truth means that you have been dating the wrong people. In fact, now that you're coming out of the closet, you may find yourself always dating the wrong people. In fact, it may be even difficult to, when you've been dating them, to let go of Mr. or Mrs. Wrong. Well, maybe it's time then to start dating from your heart, and maybe even listening to some of the obstacles that are right there in front of you, telling you and giving you great clues about what you keep doing wrong in your dating life. And to help us kind of sort that out, today I'm speaking with a friend of mine by the name of Lorna Poole, who is an expert relationship coach. She's also a professional speaker, and I love this. She is the founder and CEO of Badboy Breakthrough. Now, her expertise has been with working with women all across the globe. But I thought, you know what? She's working with all these women, really helping them break out of these bad relationships with these guys. Why not invite her here today to share her expertise with all of you guys, my gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender friends across the globe that may need some help breaking out of their habits to help them really attract the right guy or gal into her life. She's also been featured on Your Tango, eHarmony, Today FM, and News Talk Ireland, and she's really, really good at what she does. So I just want to get in here, start chatting with her, and see if we can't help you make your own way out of some of these really bad boy or bad girl relationships. Welcome to the podcast, Lorna.
Thank you, Rick. That was a very complimentary introduction. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, I've done some time, spent a little bit of time talking with you and then looking at your website, and I love what you do. So let's kind of just dive right in. So we all have been through it, or I say we all, but I think every one of us is somewhere in our dating life really ended up in kind of one of those bad boy, bad girl relationships. And I know you help a lot of people step out of that. So I'm curious, why did you get into this line of work?
Why did I get into this line of work? Yep. Really from my own life experience. I didn't realize at the time, but I remember at a very young age my parents were fighting, and I remember asking my mum, why she tolerated that, and she said to me, all men are the same way and that's just the way it is. And I made up this story around that. Mm-hmm. I have a great relationship with my family, but before that I had made this big story, and little did I know that story had me attracting men that were never going to give me what I needed. And in December 2010 I met my one bad boy too many, and I knew I had to change my life, and that experience inspired me to say there's so many people that also go through the same situation. How can I show them that this doesn't have to be your way?
Right. So when you talk about bad boy too many, we've all met him, but what was like the bad boy too many thing that really woke you up? Was there something particular about this guy?
Yes. So, when I think back over my life, I dated the guy who wouldn't commit, the good guy with potential, the guy who was so scary I didn't know how to leave. And then this guy just really, the last guy that really made me hit that low point, he did not care. And it made me wake up and think, I am more than this. And that's where the change happened.
Well, and you just said something, because I think sometimes we forget this piece that we can be dating someone who has a lot of potential. But even those who have a lot of potential are still not the right people, because we may be dating them because of their potential, not because of what is good for us or what really connects us. And I'm just curious, isn't that something you probably find oftentimes in the work you're doing with people?
Often, and where the change really happens is living into who you really are, being your authentic self. And, dating the guy with potential, it's like when I tell people, quit dating men, quit dating people just because you like them. The biggest mistake you could do is give time to somebody who can never give you what you need, want, or desire. It's painful.
It is painful, and I think what you just said is really important, is if they can't give you what you need, want, and desire, and I kind of put need at the bottom into that realm, but if you can't date somebody who gives you what you want and what you desire, then you're making sacrifices already right out the gate. Now again, and I'm sure, Lorna, you're going to agree with me, to say you want everything is like a pipe dream. So you kind of got to be ready to give and take here. But if you're dating someone because you like them, but there's not anything else going on there, then you're kind of backing yourself into a corner already.
That's right, and there's ways to notice that at very early stages that prevent you to getting hurt further down the line. People go for years in relationships that were never going to fulfill them, and you feel lonelier in a relationship than you do when you're on your own.
So talk to me a little bit about that, because I think that's something really important for my coming out audience, because one of the things that happens right out the door for a lot of us, I'm not saying everybody, but for a lot of us who come out of the closet door, is the first thing we want is we don't want to feel alone. So we latch on, and we may latch on to, the first person that comes along. We may latch on to a lot of random sex just to feel comforted. We may latch on to being something we think we're supposed to be in the gay community. And at the end of the day, we're still kind of in that same space of feeling lonely. So when you say, you don't want to feel alone, why do most people dive into a relationship and still feel lonely? What do you think that is?
Because I always say this, there's only 3 types of people you can date in the world. There's the wrong person, the boring person, and the right person. Okay?
Yep.
And the wrong person is the person that he's not going to fill you up. He's not right for you. It's how you see yourself at the time. So I talk a lot about how people, a lot of the time, that end up in the wrong relationship either think there's something wrong with them, they're not enough, or they're doing something wrong. Okay? The boring guy is the guy that looks good on paper, but you're not attracted to him.
Right.
And the right person is going after what you want. Because what I find in my niche and working with people who try to break free from a bad relationship is when they're dating someone who's wrong for them and then they jump to the boring guy, what they're really doing is lacking going for what excites them and what's going to give them what they need.
Well, it's that piece of what's going to light you up. I do a lot of work with people that are entrepreneurs, and one of the questions I always ask them right out the gate, because believe it or not, folks, it's a coming out process to come out as an entrepreneur as much as it is a coming out process to come out and say I'm gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. In that conversation, what I say to them is, okay, are you doing what lights you up, or are you doing what you think you're supposed to be doing? Now, sometimes they can be the same. Oftentimes I find, well, I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to be doing, but it doesn't really excite me the way I thought it was. It's the same thing as being in a dating, loving relationship. Well, I'm dating this person, or I'm deciding to be in this relationship because, it's what I think I'm supposed to be doing. For the most part, it makes me feel like I'm doing what's right. But when you wake up in the morning, are you lit up about being in that relationship with that person? Are you excited? I'm not saying 100% of the time, because we're both realistic about this, that relationships aren't the easiest thing in the world to do. But I think what you're intuiting here is when you can be excited about what you're doing in your relationship, when you can wake up with that excitement about being with this person, it's a whole different ballgame. Correct?
Exactly. And the reason why, people end up lonely is because they work from fear, or they work from the mentality that they're not enough. And it's letting go of that and moving towards what excites you, what makes you feel good, and making a choice. I remember working with a lady a long time ago, and she said to me, "Why don't you make a choice from now on from peace, love, and joy?" And I thought, wow, it sounds so simple, but we don't do it. We do what other people expect of us. We do what we think is right at the time. We do, and a lot of meeting the wrong person is fear of being lonely, fear of not being enough, fear of being smothered, fear of being trapped. And it's just a wrong angle to look for a relationship.
But something you just said, I think, is very poignant to our conversation here about, getting out of the bad boy, bad girl mentality and into the right girl, right guy mentality. And that piece is keeping it simple. I mean, for whatever reason, we as human beings tend to just overcomplicate stuff because, okay, now that gives us something to complain about, or, that gives us something to say, oh my gosh, so, I was on this date with this guy and da-da-da, or this girl, and then you go on and on, our friends are sitting at the table going, okay, why didn't you just say it just didn't work out? It's this overcomplication stuff. So what is some of the stuff that you find people doing that just brings a lot of complication into their relationships at times?
That is a wonderful question. So this is a classic. When you start to meet somebody for the first time, if you ever hear them utter the words, "I'm not ready for a relationship right now. I'm getting over my ex. I just want to be friends. Or I just want to have fun."
Right.
Now, they have different... So I just want to have fun is not somebody he's looking for sex. He's not looking to have a relationship with you. The person "I'm not ready," the thing is, when we like somebody, we tend to overlook this.
Right.
And that is a classic mistake people make.
So I'm curious, let's kind of go back through those again. So I'm not ready for a relationship. I'm not looking for anything other than sex. What was a couple of the other things? Because I think these are really important points to kind of go back over again so everybody hears.
I just want to be friends.
Just want to be friends. Yeah. I think a lot of this is some of those obstacles you talk about, where the obstacle is showing you exactly what's about to happen, but we're not paying attention to it. Okay, well, he just wants to be friends. Okay, me too. Or she just wants to, let's just, understand we're both kind of getting out of relationships. Let's just see what we can do. These are, I wouldn't call them the big warning signs, but they're kind of the little pink warning signs that this person's not really here, and we may be just jumping to jump right now into any kind of relationship.
And this is, I love the way you called it the pink warning sign, because the pink warning sign is your answer, I remember a guy once explaining to me, and I thought, that is so clever. He said, men are so simple, they make it complicated for girls, but I think that works with people in general, is that when we're so excited about something and wanting something to work in our life, we overlook something that's actually quite obvious. And usually when somebody's into you or not into you, they make you a priority. Their actions and words tend to match. So if it's not the words of "I'm not ready for a relationship right now," they're going to show that by maybe you call them, they ignore your call, or they don't contact you for 10 days. And really further down the line, when the relationship falls apart, it's then you see that it was so obvious the whole way along. And it's noticing this early,
Right, but the thing is they gave you the notice early. For whatever reason, you chose not to listen to the notice that they gave you. And oftentimes, I believe, and I do some work like you do with people in this arena, is we're so needy, or we're such in want or desire to just be with anybody. We don't really care.
Yeah.
Except we won't admit that to ourselves. Oh, no,
Correct.
no. When friends say that to us, or even if your coach says, well, aren't you acting somewhat like you just really want to be in a relationship even if it's not in your best interest? No. And then the next thing you hear is, okay, I'm in this relationship, and I've been in this relationship now for a week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, and it's just not working. Well, why do you think it's not working? You went into it knowing this person wasn't ready to be what you wanted them to be. And I think oftentimes we, without thinking clearly, force ourselves into these relationships just because of whatever our fears are, which are typically not wanting to be alone, thinking you're supposed to be somewhere in life that you're not yet there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's all these things, these stories, as you said, these stories that we tell each other. So when we get to these places, and you do a lot of this work, when you find someone who's at one of these places where they have basically put the blinders on and they're not seeing themselves, what is something that you try to do to help them start to really see this truth about where they are in this quote-unquote relationship?
That's a great question. When that happens, somebody comes to me in a lot of pain, and they're like, why has this not worked out, Lorna? And how they turn this around is understanding what was the belief behind what happened. So usually it comes in a story of, oh, but I met this guy and this happened, and everything looked so great, da 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 da. But when they peel it back, they realize that believing that they were not enough and there was something wrong with them was the core belief behind it. So how I turn that around for them is I really focus on the how to break free from that, and what to do to get the right guy.
So what is some of the stuff you would tell them to work on how to break free from it?
What I would do with them is explain to them what went wrong, what went right, and get them to understand, to just let it go. Mm-hmm. Usually after a point in their life, they're ready to let it go.
Well, I think you're right, and that's kind of where, as you were saying, I'm like, I think sometimes the shock value that has to happen is often, as a coach and as someone who's guiding someone to help them see their truth. If they're not able to see their truth, we kind of have to really nudge it, and sometimes nudge it in a big way of, this is what's really happened. Can you see that this is what's really happened? And, as a coach myself, I'll often preface it with, okay, what I'm most all about is your best interest. So I'm going to say something to you right now that I want you to realize this is not a judgment. This is what I'm seeing from my perspective as what's happened to you. And I'm trying to help you see it in a light that maybe you're not able to see it. And here's what I see. This is what happened to you. And the reason this potentially happened is because you were too excited about the relationship when it started. You were in the quote-unquote honeymoon phase of the relationship where all you could see was the good, and you weren't allowing yourself to go, okay, what could possibly be quote-unquote the bad or the real stuff of the relationship. I think oftentimes this is where a lot of people find themselves backed into these corners, but it was so good. Well, it was only good because that's all you were allowing yourself to see.
And they want you to call them out because their friends can't give them the information that you can.
Right. Well,
because
I think sometimes the friends will give the information, but because they're friends,
yeah, that's right,
they don't want to hear it. You're my friend.
Right.
You're not, okay, you're my friend. Tell me the worst thing. Okay, so the friend starts, and the friend may say exactly the same thing that someone outside of the realm, whether it's a coach or a therapist or whatever, but they may bring this to light, but because I don't have any vested interest in the relationship, and I know this is going to sound kind of harsh, I don't have any vested interest in the relationship other than to help you get where you want to go. I'm not going to go sit down and have a cocktail with you on the weekend because you're my friend and let's go out to the clubs or whatever it may be. My role, and your role as a coach too, is we want to help you go find that best place for you. And sure, your friends want that too, but there's a friendship there, and so a lot of times our friends aren't going to tell us the real truth of what we really need to hear. Is that what you often find?
Yeah, and I actually just put a survey out to my community last week, and the last question was, do you want to know about the wrong guy or the right guy? And the wrong guy scored really low, because the only thing you can do with the wrong guy is let him go. And that's the starting point of change.
I love what you just said, because I think this is a really powerful piece of information. The only thing you can do with the wrong guy or the wrong gal is to let them go. There's nothing else to be done. I mean, unless you're just a martyr, and there are people who are martyrs, they choose to be in those kind of relationships. But even as you move into those kind of relationships with the wrong guy or the wrong gal, at some point, as much as you may deny it, the pain is going to become too much, and you'll either choose to continue to stay in the pain because then you're afraid of losing face with everybody, or you'll finally come to a realization, this is not healthy for me, this is not good for me.
Yes, and I actually don't give a lot of weight to the wrong guy. I focus a lot of my energy on, okay, now you know what's happened, let's find you where you want to be.
So when you talk about the wrong guy, and I know you work with a lot of women, but I think there's a lot of parallels here to whomever someone is dating. What are some of the common wrong, quote-unquote, wrong guy sort of things that you see coming up in a consistent way in a lot of these relationships? What are wrong guys?
That's a fantastic question. So, let me give you good examples. A good example would be you're dating someone and you're making all the effort in the relationship. Mm-hmm. You're dating someone and you're doing the chasing and he is not even making any effort at all, and you're feeling all upset about it. It's kind of what's going on for you that is upsetting you so much. Another example would be cheating, lying, trust, jealousy. Right. Fixing is a big one. Feeling the need to fix another person. Yeah. What else can I think of?
Well, I think those are some of the most common ones. And when you said trying to fix somebody else, I think this is one of the things that it is where it leads to. Okay, so let's kind of take a couple of these that you took. Cheating, lying, and trust, that's huge. I mean, to me, there's not a whole lot you can do with that one other than say, bye-bye, let go. Now, you can't. I'm not saying you can't rectify that. The only way those sort of things can really be rectified is if both people choose to say, this thing we're calling quote-unquote a relationship is worth the effort. And even then, there has to be some very powerful conversations around, let's figure out how we want to be in this relationship with this, quote, pebble in the shoe still sitting there until that pebble in the shoe is really not there. But it's a biggie. So cheating, lying, and trust, those are huge. I love the first two that you brought up because it's so common. Putting all the effort into it, or if you're constantly chasing. Because to me, those two, putting all the effort into it and chasing, is your way of somehow you're going to fix this person. You're going to try to fix this to be in this relationship. And my common response, and it sounds like you're in the same realm, is if you're always trying to fix, wouldn't you rather be spending your energy and effort somewhere else trying to have a happy, solid relationship?
Yeah, because a lot of it starts with your choice of person. See, people are who they are, male or female. People carry certain qualities. Mm-hmm. And, somebody with integrity, honesty, a great attitude about life, happy, content, know where they're going. For somebody, I always talk about, being the quality girl and, becoming that kind of person you want to attract.
Sure.
And becoming that person you want to attract is understanding that embodying qualities that are attractive will get you quicker to meeting the one you want than coming from a space of need, desperation, lonely, or seeing something in another and feeling the need that they need fix or change is another big one. Trying to change somebody.
So here's something you just said that I want to make sure that we kind of share, because this is something I often find myself, quote unquote, beating my clients over the head about, and it's this being the quality person you want to attract. To me, that's a really important piece of the puzzle. However, you have to genuinely be the quality person you want to attract Don't take on quality pieces of yourself that aren't who you are. If you put this
Yes.
false persona forward of, okay, so I want to be like this person who's really in integrity, who really listens, who communicates, and, you know, I want to have real conversations, blah, blah, blah. And that's not who you are. You have a hard time communicating. You have a hard time carrying on these deeper conversations. In fact, I had a client of mine once say, I really want to have someone that I can have these really deep intellectual conversations with. And I said, really? And I just kind of paused there. And he said, yeah, why are you questioning that? I said, I've known you for a couple of years, and I didn't know that side of you. So tell me a little bit more about that side of you. What does that intellectual side of you look like and sound like? And he got really quiet. And I said, something tells me this isn't who you really are. I said, is there somebody in your life right now that's really deep and intellectual that you find really attractive? And so if you could be this, then you think that person would come into your life? And it kind of took him aback because he kind of knew I'd backed him into his corner. And I said, here's the thing. If that intellectual guy really is attracted to you, he's probably attracted to you because you're you, and not because you're trying to meet him on his deep intellectual level. I said, in fact, a lot of people who are very deep intellectual communicators would prefer to be with someone who may not be as deep and intellectual as they are because they want the variety and the spice in their life. They may be deep and intellectual all day long in their work or in their, you know, maybe they're a professor or the kind of stuff they do for their living. They have to be that deep intellectual. And what they want to come home to is the fun, whimsical, just be who you are, let's relax kind of person. And I found it really interesting to watch him begin to shift around who he wanted to be for people he was attracting into his life.
You actually brought up a very good thing there, is that most people don't actually know what they really want.
Exactly. It's the hardest thing, because when you ask someone, if you and I did this right now live recording this, if we said to each other, okay, what is it you really want, Lorna, or what is it you really want, Rick? It's kind of hard in the moment to say that because it changes, number one. Number two, when was it the last time that anybody really sat down with most of us and said, tell me what you really want. What is it you really want and desire in life? And go at that deeper level. I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the first things I do with new clients is, what do you want?
Yeah. It's a really important question.
It's really important. Also, a lot of clients, to get them out there meeting people, we go online, and sometimes writing your profile or something like that actually really makes you clear what you want, because you have to be to put it out there.
Right.
And it's funny how the exercises are getting out there and meeting people really starts to make you hone what you need to know to get to where you want to be. Because at the end of the day, we are in charge of our own results.
Absolutely. So as we're getting close to wrapping up here, I'm so glad this is where we got to, because I think the question of what do you really want is just critical to really honing in on a deep, loving, caring, intimate relationship, however that is defined for you in those words. But I also think the other piece of the what do you really want is to also ask why. Why do you want that? I think any of us can say, oh yeah, I would like, I'd love a bank account that would enable me to travel the world and, a nice big house and, da-da-da-da-da. But if we don't know the why behind that, it's not deep enough yet. You really got to have that second piece. The why is so important.
Yeah, and that's why, when we talked earlier about how that emotional pain must come up, or that hunger to change must show itself, for you to say, damn, I want this, and I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to get there.
Yeah. And I think sometimes even just getting really, really, impassioned with yourself and saying, damn it, why do I want this? Why is this important to me? What is it I really want? And one of the things that I found is really helpful, whether you're talking about dating or career changes or whatever it may be, even coming out of the closet, why is this so important to me, is to go spend some time with yourself. Notice I said not alone, just be with yourself. Yes, it may require that you're alone in a room or alone on a mountaintop or whatever, but to go be with yourself and to say, okay, this is important to me and here's why. This is important to me and here's why. This is important to me and here's why. If that's all you do for, however long it takes, and it may mean that your journey is you go do this once a day for 2 weeks, or it may mean you go take a whole day away from everybody and everything and just spend that time going, this is important to me and here's why. This is when you really get in touch with yourself, because nobody else can do this for you. Nobody else can. Nobody else can. So as we wrap up here, Lorna, one of the things that I always do, and this is the Coming Out Lounge, we're talking about coming out, being really in yourself, being truly who you are in your sexuality, but I always like to open the door of this is really about just being who you are, period, as a person. If you were going to give one piece of advice about really coming out to just live your truth, what would be that piece of advice you'd love to leave the listeners with?
Know what you want and get out there and get it.
So powerful. Know what you want and get out there and get it. So very cool. So now let's just really quickly, there'll be the stuff on the show page when this podcast airs about where people can reach you, but the name of your company again is?
At www.badboybreakthrough.com.
Awesome. And she is from Ireland, as you can tell. She's got that accent. She lives there. She does work all over the world, but so don't let that scare you. But if you're interested in hooking up with her, go to badboybreakthrough.com, check her out, and I just really enjoyed having you on the podcast today, Lorna.
Thank you for having me here, Rick.
You bet. And it's been really good having another. And something I didn't tell the listeners, she is a fellow IPEC coach. We've both been trained in the same coaching modality. So we're both used to working in the energies and helping people really tap into those deeper levels of energy to really get what they want in their dating and relationship lives. And if you enjoyed listening to the tips and tricks that Lauren and I have doled out today, you can always go to iTunes and leave us a little rating and review if that's aligned with who you are. And as always, I'd love to invite you to join me over on Facebook at the Coming Out Coach page. And of course, we always love our tweets, our Twitter family. They're the ones who really move these podcasts forward. They're the ones who can say, hey, I heard this on the Coming Out Lounge podcast with @RickClemens. So the handle is @RickClemens, and you can use the podcast hashtag of #ComingOutLounge. And with that, we're going to wrap this episode up so that we can get ready for some more to come. And as we always say, get out there and never stop stepping out, stepping up, and stepping into living your powerful truth. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll catch you real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today with the Coming Out Lounge with your host, Rick Clemens. Make sure you tune in with us next week, same time, same place, for the Coming Out Lounge.